Hi friends, welcome to Bookish Bliss, our virtual book club. Every week we will dig into a section of chapters in our favorite books. Let's get started.
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 40 of Bookish Bliss. We have a lot to discuss today.
We sure do. This week we are covering chapters 1 through 9 of Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. There will be no spoilers beyond the cover chapters. You don't have to read the whole book to listen. You just have to be caught up on the chapters we're covering. Amanda, darling, what are you drinking for episode number 40?
4-0, that's crazy.
I know.
I'm bringing it back to our roots.
Mark
Episode number 1.
West.
That's right, baby, Mark West. How about you, Megan? What are you drinking tonight?
Well, my liver's still recovering. And I've been oddly obsessed with what used to be Sierra Mist is now Starry from Pepsi. And I ordered it and they just gave me a Pepsi. So I don't even think I've ever had a regular Pepsi before. So
Never, ever?
I could have drank a bubbly, but I thought caffeine and I don't know.
You have to try it now for us. We need your review.
They sent this to me tonight at my dinner for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm going to try it for the first time. I'm sure I have had it before, but not in a very long time because I'm mostly a Coke product girly.
Ooh.
All right. Cheers, darling, to
Cheers,
episode
darling.
40 and Iron Flame.
40 and Iron Flame. What's the verdict?
I don't know. It tastes like sweeter. I don't even drink regular Coke.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like I don't know if I know the difference. I think I would have to have both in front of me to do a real test.
That'd be funny. Well, if you like it, you'll like it. At least you have a drink for tonight.
I'll drink it. I don't know if I'm obsessed, but I'll drink it.
Let's get started with the good stuff and break down Iron Flame Part 1. So before we get into our summaries here, I have to mention that there are new territories on our map.
Ooh.
I don't list them all out because we'll go over them as we get to them throughout our coverage. And we get a lovely breakdown of the wings and their structure again, just for a little reminder. There is a wing leader with an executive officer who's second in command. 3 sections, claw, flame, and tail, each with a section leader and executive officer. And 3 squads of 15 to 20 people who each have a squad leader and an executive officer. So I liked that little breakdown picture in the beginning of the book.
No, that is nice. So say there's 4th wing, because I have to have Amanda remind me of this. So let's just say 4th wing.
Yeah.
There's a claw, a flame, and a tail section in 4th wing.
Yes.
But in, say, claw of 4th wing, there's 3 squads.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there's a section leader who's in charge of all 3 squads.
Yeah.
And then there's a squad leader who's in charge of each individual squad.
Gotcha.
All under the wing. And it's the same for all 4 wings.
Yes.
All right, Megan. Take it away.
All right. Chapter 1. We are picking this book up right where we left off in 4th wing. We're still in Orisha. Violet is still in disbelief that Brennan is alive, that she survived a venom attack, Xaden's betrayal, and Liam, R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Our group has a lot to work through now that Violet knows a lot of secrets. Do they head back to Beskayeth?
Dun, dun, dun!
That is the question of the chapter.
That is the question of the chapter indeed. So the epigraph for chapter 1 is, in this, the 628th year of our unification, it is hereby recorded that Orisha has been burned by dragon in accordance with the treaty ending the separatist movement. Those who fled survived, and those who did not remain entombed in her ruins. And this is from a public notice, 628.85, transcribed by Sorella Neilwart. We know that last name.
We do?
Yeah, it's the same as Jasinia's.
Oh, shit! You're right! That's crazy.
So I wonder who this is to her. Either mom, sister,
grandparent,
grandma.
maybe.
Yeah. Well,
great aunt.
Could be that long ago because it was when Orisha was burned.
Yeah, so it could have been a grandmother or a mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Or an aunt, cousin.
Within
we'll have
family.
To see. I just thought that was interesting that they have a family of scribes, apparently.
Yeah. Well, it seems like a lot of the families stay within the same quadrants, except Violet's.
True.
With her dad being different.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Also, I feel like when I was reading that little blurb before we even start, this is transcribed by Jasenia,
Yeah.
and the names of these people are different. I was just like, this seems weird to me for some reason. I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm
What's
just
so
like,
interesting is I saw a post the other day that said, you know how scribes have all the power, and it's like what they're writing down ends up being the truth. That what
yeah.
if what Jasenia is writing is not even the truth?
Or what if now that we know that this is one of her relatives, what if she's the one that changed history?
Maybe.
Interesting. Somebody's not doing their job.
Can we trust Jasenia is all I'm saying.
Yeah, can we? I guess we'll have to find out.
Yeah.
So we start the book and chapter 1 in a castle in Arisha.
Yeah, Violet thinks revolution tastes sweet as she is sitting across from Brennan. Violet has recovered from her fatal stab wound by a venin, and Violet is in disbelief that she is alive. Venin are real, Brennan is alive, and Arisha still stands.
Wild.
It's honestly just a lot to comprehend
It
in like
is.
a couple of days that she's been conscious because she's been out for 10.
Literally, she's been out cold. It's been
Yeah,
10 days.
but she's only been conscious for a few.
Yeah.
Like
That's
the
crazy.
battle, basically flying
Mm.
to Athbine, and then the battle, and then she's been out until now.
Yeah.
But she thinks Brennan looks different, older, but his smile and his eyes are still the same. So
Oh.
it must be so wild to be
Wild.
staring across at your brother who you thought has been dead for years.
Yeah. Especially because I feel, well, obviously, I'm sure the stress has aged him as well, but could you imagine how young we looked 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Of course he's going to look different.
Yeah, I think I look generally the same, but I probably
Yeah.
don't.
Like when I see a picture of myself from 5, 6 years ago, I know it's me, but I look younger. Like I don't know. Weird. I don't
We're gonna
know.
be young forever. Violet is trying to reach out to Indarna, but she still can't reach her.
Yeah, so she assumes here that she will be sleeping for the next week or so from using her time stopping abilities back in the end of Fourth Wing. And she can feel the bond between them, but it's no longer golden.
Yeah, she can't really discern what
Hmm.
color it is at the moment because their connection's a little wonky.
Interesting. So we know she's huge
Interesante.
and not golden anymore. What's going on?
Yes. What color is she? Brennan was sure a few days ago that he never thought he would be able to watch Violet do anything ever again. One, because he probably, I don't know if he really means this as he never thought he would see her again because of the revolution, or that she was basically dead when she showed up to Arisha and he had to mend her. And meaning, I guess it could go both ways.
Yeah. Well, I think before he died, he thought that Violet would also be in a scribe quadrant. So she would have
Right.
never saw a battlefield anyway. And if
True.
he was never going back to Biscayeth, then I feel like that's what he meant. Like he was never going to see her again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Violet has also slept through her 21st birthday while she was
Oh,
healing.
let me take a sip for you.
Happy
21.
belated birthday, Violet
Happy
Sorrengail.
belated.
Brennan changes his last name to Asarai because he can no longer be Brennan Sorrengail during the
Yeah.
revolution.
Right.
And he says he continued to get promoted because everyone above him continues to die, which is not a way you want to get promoted. You'd want to get
No.
promoted by merit or doing your job really well. Not that I think Brennan's doing his job really well.
Yeah.
They clearly trust him to have this role, but yeah, that's how he's gotten to his new position so quickly.
Yeah, which is sad. So, the rebellion unit in Arisha is run by Brennan and the Assembly. And apparently, there are more riders from Biscayeth involved as well because one shows up to where they are in Arisha. Violet, though, is amazed at this 5-story fortress, half castle, half house. Yeah. It's huge and was saved from a scorching by its thick stone walls. In some ways, it reminded her of Biscayeth, but in other ways, it's more homey with paintings and tapestries hanging everywhere. It's being rebuilt and is now a small town run by the Rebellion Kids. And we're reminded here that General Melgreen can't see the Rebellion Kids when they gather 3 or more at a time. So he can't see them organizing this station at Arisha.
Which is so crazy that they literally have no idea that they're doing this behind their back, that they're not keeping like a better watch on them.
I know, literally. And especially because they're all going on war games together, wouldn't you be a little suspicious of where they're going and what they're
Yeah,
doing? You can't see them,
that
but
that was still so weird to me.
yeah, I don't know. Unless he knew about the plan, Mel Green,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
I
well,
don't know.
General Sorrengail definitely didn't.
Yeah, she definitely didn't. So Violet, Imogen, and Bodhi are listening in on the assembly meeting, and they're discussing returning to Biscayeth and getting a luminary from Viscount Takaris, which we don't really get any description of him other than that yet. Whom Violet has never even heard of him. So who he is, I guess we'll have to keep reading to find out.
Yeah, they also discuss potentially taking a luminary from Beskayeth, but then they decide against this as Navarre still needs this to replenish their weapons at their outposts, which would impact countless civilian lives. And
Yeah,
obviously, the revolution is about saving as many civilian lives as possible, so they're not going to take
exactly.
that away from Navarre.
Yeah.
With them being low on time and weapons, they need to turn things around in this war, and the assembly decides that they need to bring back some cadets from Biscayeth.
Yes. So the assembly does not approve of Violet knowing everything and being there. So they obviously know Brennan is a Soaringale,
Hmm.
but he has proven himself over the last 6 years of him being there, which of course we can all see. He's the highest ranking soldier in this assembly. But Violet has not yet proven that to them. So they're all still a little weary. They're like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, but I think Violet stands up for herself, and everything that she did at Ressin, I think more than makes up for them
Yeah,
being able to trust her. She could have left, and she didn't. She stood and fought with people she wasn't even on speaking terms with at the moment because of that betrayal, but she still fought for the
exactly.
greater good.
Yeah, the way she found out was so traumatizing too, and she still put that all aside to help the civilians. So I think no matter what, that should have counted for her as
Yeah.
proof. It's not 6 years, it's something that they can definitely consider her one of them.
Yeah, she's always going to put innocent civilian lives before her feelings.
Exactly. Yeah.
Xaden tells Violet, though, after the meeting is over, to stay and talk to her brother, and that the 8 of them who fought at Ressen will decide what to do together. No one is going to tell them what to do.
Yeah, they are a unit and they make decisions together. I love it.
Yeah, well, after everything they went through, they have to stick together.
Yeah, they are going to lean on each other because one, it's such a big secret that nobody knows and you have to talk about it.
Yeah.
You're not going to not talk about it. So
Yeah,
you're going to eventually get close to the people that you went through the experience with,
for sure.
which I'm okay with. I like them all.
Yeah, I like this little group. So, chapter 2, welcome to the info dump chapter, where Brennan is going to catch our girl Violet up on all things Arisha, himself, and their plan moving forward. Enjoy Amanda's world building lesson.
Yes, there's always at least one info dump at the beginning of all the books that we've done, and it just so happens to be all of chapter 2.
Yeah.
So you're gonna hear my voice for probably the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, a little bit of me, but mostly Amanda.
So I'll start with the epigraph here for chapter 2. It is the valley above Ryerson House, heated by natural thermal energy, that is its greatest asset. For there lie the original hatching grounds of the Dubmadin line, from which 2 of the greatest dragons of our time, Coda and Tairn, descend. And this is from Colonel Kaori's Field Guide to Dragonkind.
That is very interesting.
Very interesting.
The
The black
original hatching
dragons.
grounds.
Yeah, for the black dragons.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Well, now we know why. But who's Coda's?
Coda is Melgreen's.
Interesting. That makes me think he could be in on the rebellion.
I don't know.
Something to think about for sure.
Well, it doesn't mean just because Taryn has a good moral compass doesn't mean that Coda does.
No, absolutely. I just feel
But we don't know, honestly.
there's secrets between the dragons too that we don't know about that they haven't said yet. We haven't been in a perspective of a dragon yet to even learn any of that stuff. Imagine if we got a dragon perspective book. That would be wild.
That would be wild.
We could. It is the Empyrean series.
Yeah, that's true.
Who is the dragon government? I don't know. I'm getting too excited though. We just got to start chapter 2.
We're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, I'm way ahead.
Violet talks to Brennan. She learns that Mira does not know that he is secretly alive. Violet wants to know why Brennan never came back home, and he tells Violet that Naolan died saving him, and he woke up on a cliffside not far from Arisha, and he couldn't stand by, safe behind the wards, and watch innocent people die at the hands of dark wielders because leadership was too selfish to help. So this was like his perfect opportunity to join the revolution and
Yeah.
be dead in the eyes of Navarre and start fighting what he sees as the good fight,
So
helping
he kind of
innocents.
was introduced to the Venons the same way that Violet was, really,
Mm-hmm.
like middle, just thrown into battle with them.
Yep.
I could imagine how pissed off he is because you go through Basgiath for 3 years thinking one thing is your threat and it's really this crazy other monster that nobody prepares you for. I'd be fucking pissed too.
Yeah, I really just don't understand what leadership is thinking or how they're going to get away with this. And
Yeah.
I guess I'll have more to say as we continue on with the chapter.
Yeah. Well, I think it does come out in this section that they really truly think the wards will just never be broken. So they
Yeah,
don't think they even have to say anything to the public because there's never going to be a threat. But clearly that's not going to be the case.
definitely not.
So we learned that the dragons have a network of caves in this valley where they hid Brennan and his dragon Marb until they brought them to live with the rest of the civilians who survived the scorch in Arisha. The valley is also where Indarna is and where Terrence, Segale, and Xaden are guarding her while she's in her dreamless sleep.
Yeah.
So, of course, Violet finds the battle map in Arisha, and it shows the Barrens, which is the desert-covered peninsula that the dragons abandoned after General Daramore ruined the land during the Great War. And it's painted in crimson, stretching into Breivik, which makes me think that this crimson color, we know it was abandoned. So is it like leaking into Breivik or something? Like, why is Breivik also get this little painted crimson? So what's going on there in the
Yeah.
desert? The map is full of orange and red flags. The red flags represent battles that have happened in recent years, and the orange are battles that happened in recent months. So the orange ones are probably the ones that they're paying more attention to at this point,
Yeah.
trend wise.
Mm-hmm.
The red flags stretch over Krovla, spreading like a disease into Signisin. The orange ones are heavy along the Stonewater River, which leads right to Navarre's border.
Mm-hmm.
Brennan believes they have 6 months or less before they are strong enough, the Venin, to reach Navarre, but the Assembly just isn't listening to him. They're just like, no way, that's not happening.
Which it totally makes sense. To me, I completely agree with Brennan.
Literally, the map is telling you that.
The map is showing the pattern.
The data is there.
How can you dismiss it? And then we just saw them so close to Navarre's border and Resin and Athbine.
Yeah.
You can't ignore that. That's like a day's flight from Biscayeth.
I know. I wonder why maybe it's the timeline. They think like they have more time, but I don't know. There has to be some kind of trend that he's seeing in this map, in these battles, that he thinks this. So I don't know. I believe Brennan.
Yeah.
So we learned too that Brennan knew about the Wyvern for months now, but Xaden and the cadets did not. They only knew about the Venin. There are at least 2 breeds of Wyvern that we know of right now. One that breathes blue fire and one that breathes green fire.
Mhm.
And Violet has to inform Brennan that they are actually making the Wyvern instead of hatching them. Because, of course, she reminds him of the Book of Fables that their dad used to read to them.
Which is so interesting that the Venin have been around for quite some time, obviously a long time, but the Wyvern have not come into play until a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting. Were there just not enough Venin to create Wyvern, and now there's more, so they're getting stronger?
Well, I think the Fables still talk about the Wyvern too. So I think maybe they were always in play. They just
weren't using them to fight.
Yeah, or weren't as developed. Maybe they're more developed now, or I don't know. The bond between them is stronger because the Venin are getting stronger or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's definitely were talks about the Wyvern and the Fables.
Yeah, they're in the Fables and the stories, but it's just interesting that Brennan, who's been fighting in this revolution for years now, has never seen a Wyvern until a couple months ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's weird.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, when Brennan died during battle, maybe they just didn't have a Wyvern or somebody that could create one. I don't know. I have For some reason, I'm thinking it has to do with their strength as a venin.
Hmm.
So I don't know if maybe they're like building this army this whole time and now they're all strong enough to do wyvern, where before maybe only like the top ones were able to do it. I don't know. That's where my brain was going there, but
I'm sure we'll find out eventually.
yeah, for sure. So the assembly thinks that the iron box Garrick found at Ressin is a lure, but they had to destroy it before they could fully investigate. The same sort of box was found in Jana, already smashed, and the craftsmanship of this box was definitely Navarian. So they knew some Navarian, put these boxes in these places.
Well, definitely Atos is involved. He has to be because that's how he got the venin lured to Ressin.
Exactly. Because I don't know, are they sensing this magic or something and going there?
It has to be. Like Brennan says, a lure, but yeah, it must trigger some sort of magical radar to the venin, who are obviously always seeking more and more magic.
Exactly.
And it
Yeah.
leads them right to this box.
Yeah. Interesting. Fucking Atos.
Can't.
So the Venin are after Navarre in the first place for the power in the lands. They're just trying to suck the life out of everywhere at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And Navarre especially has this super powerful energy in the hatching grounds, which is guarded by the wards.
Yeah.
And this type of magic can keep them fed for decades, so they're never going to give up this fight.
No.
Melgreen believes that the wards will hold, so there's no need to alert the public, or he could potentially be afraid that the public will realize they actually aren't the good guys. They're just hiding from the battle instead of actually do something about it.
Yeah.
But they have managed to keep the truth hidden. Sometime in the past, one generation of Navarians wiped the history books and erased the existence of the venin, so they didn't have to risk their safety to provide the one material that can kill a dark wielder, which is the same alloy that powers the wards.
But we also have to think it's not just the humans that are keeping this a secret. The dragons are also keeping this a secret as well, because these wards are protecting their hatching grounds.
Yeah.
So it's not just Mel Green and Sorengale and our top leadership. It's the dragons too, keeping these secret from their riders.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think Taryn does end up saying that to Violet. The humans are not the only ones with secrets, which makes me feel like they actually know more.
Of course they do. Yeah. They've been
And
around
hopefully
longer.
it comes out. Yeah. So Brennan chooses to believe that their dad actually didn't know about the existence of the venin, but I personally think that he definitely knew.
Yeah.
And the closer that they get to Navarre, Brennan is thinking someone is eventually going to see them and they are going to find out the truth, and it's coming.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how he wouldn't have known, knowing how much he talked about it with Violet, almost like a warning, or basically like saying to her, don't trust anyone constantly. He wouldn't just be saying it if it was a fable that he didn't know about. Yeah. To me, I think he definitely knew about it.
Yeah, he definitely did.
Violet thinks they use the word revolution because they think that they can win, which is not the attitude that Fen Ryerson had. But Brennan tells them that they don't want to win, they have to win. And they know the venin are gaining in strength.
Yeah, there's no option at this point. They either win or they die. There's no in between. We win some battles, we lose some battles. They have to be stronger, get stronger, and have everything, every weapon at their disposal, or they're done for. And the venin win.
Yeah. And they actually are the way underdogs right now because, number one, they can only kill them from hand-to-hand combat with a special dagger that they don't get this alloy with unless they're stealing it from Navarre. No other power that they have. It doesn't even matter what signet power you have at this point. Doesn't matter. It's crazy.
They're too strong.
So they also mention again the sage, who we learn at the end of Fourth Wing she thinks is the teacher of these venin.
Yeah, Brennan's like, great, they have a fucking teacher. Well, obviously someone leads them. Someone is teaching them how to be venin. They're not just mindless zombies doing whatever they want.
Thank God
they're organized.
That Violet is on their side. They would know nothing about the venin.
Yeah.
Without her. It's crazy how much they actually do not know.
All she did was read a fucking book of fables.
Literally. Over and over again, only because her dad died.
Yeah.
In Arisha, they are outside the wards, but Brennan tells Violet that they have a dormant ward stone there. And she thought that there was only one at Biscayeth created during unification, but apparently a lot is wrong about everything she knew about Navarre.
Well,
the history's all fucked up.
Yeah, well, it makes sense that there would be a ward stone there because there was a hatching ground there.
Exactly, yeah. Interesting. But Brennan thinks the art of creating new wards was lost magic. Violet, though, she's fucking smart. She thinks this info is way too important. They would not get rid of that.
No way.
They're hiding it.
Yeah.
So she's thinking it must be in the archive somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And a ward stone means that you can actually create new wards and extend their protection. And they wouldn't need as many weapons and to fight off these venin by hand-to-hand combat.
Mm-hmm.
Brennan, though, he's thinking this is going to be useless without the luminary that actually intensifies the dragon fire hot enough to melt the alloy into the weapons in the first place.
Yeah.
So we need the luminary and we need to figure out the ward stones. Well, that's Violet's plan anyway. I think she's the only one that has that plan right now.
Yeah. Violet's like, I'm going to do this my way. See what happens.
Yeah. So Brennan tells Violet they learned from Fen Ryerson's mistakes. Mm-hmm. They are not attacking Navarre or declaring independence. They are fighting right under their noses and they have a plan. Mm-hmm. Something killed off the Venin 600 years ago during the Great War, and they are actively searching for that weapon. So making daggers will keep them in the fight long enough, hopefully, to find it if they can find the luminary in the first place.
Yeah.
Brennan decides that Violet shouldn't know more, though, because she can't fully block out mind readers, aka Dane, yet. Mm-hmm. Even though it may not be the best plan for Violet to go back to Biscayeth, she knows it's the best plan for Brennan and his revolution.
Yeah, she needs to go back, get into those archives, and find the information that they need for this ward stone.
Yeah. And she knows if they don't go back because of war games, they'll go looking for them, and they don't want to cause trouble that way either.
Yeah. So later, Brennan, Xaden, and Violet and all of their dragons meet up, and Taryn and Sigil have been guarding Indarna.
Yes. And Indarna is actually twice as big as she was 2 days ago, and she just keeps growing here.
Yeah.
No one's actually ever seen a dragon grow this rapidly before. She is in her adolescent phase, and they need to get her back to the Vale, obviously, so she can enter the dreamless sleep and nobody will worry about her. Mm-hmm. Adolescent dragons are described as human teens, except they have sharp teeth and breathe fire, so they seem pretty nasty.
Yeah.
They have no patience for humans or elders or any logic at all. They just do whatever the fuck they want. And I feel like Indarna already does that, so we're in for it.
Yeah, she was already like that before she was a teen.
So it's going to be like magnified. Mm-hmm. Her scales were deeply black, almost purple and iridescent. Not even Indarna knew what colors her scales would mature to. Only the eldest of the den can sense a hatchling's pigment. And according to Coda, 2 more black dragons have hatched in the last year. And we learn that tails are actually a matter of choice and need. Interesting there.
That is interesting.
And because she is now an adolescent, she can no longer stop time. So she's lost that ability.
Yeah, so I think it's so interesting. Violet's like, oh my God, she's black.
Yeah.
She's a black dragon. She's like, how did I end up with not 1, but 2 black dragons? They are rare. And then Taryn's like, well, nobody knew that she was going to be one, except Coda did. Coda knew when the dragons agreed for Violet to keep Taryn and Indarna that she was going to end up with 2 black dragons.
Yeah.
And Taryn lets us know that Coda has said that 2 more black dragons have just hatched.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So now the Vale is the hatching ground for all dragons.
Right.
But they used to be split up by hatching grounds of color, is what I'm gaining from this.
It seems
because Arisha was black.
Yeah, but it's interesting that they all, well, probably because that's closest to the wardstone is why they're all there in the Vale.
Well, I was just thinking, is there more wardstones than we actually think? Because was there more hatching grounds for each color and there's actually more wardstones for each color?
Amanda.
I know.
Maybe,
right?
Let's go to Khaldir.
Let's go. We need to go there. It is on our map, so.
Yeah.
So Violet knows at this point that they have to go back to Biscayeth or they will kill every rebellion cadet still there. That's the deal that Xaden made.
Yeah.
He's responsible for them. If he doesn't return, they're all dead.
Yeah. Brennan protests and argues about Dane could touch her and read her recent memories, so he does not want Violet going back.
Yeah. But Xaden agrees to train her to shut out Dane and his mind reading abilities. And of course, our girl Violet, she's got a plan, but they only have 48 hours until
So
graduation.
they gotta get back.
They gotta get back. And what the hell is gonna happen?
Well, let's find out. Chapter 3. Our group is back in Beskayeth, and they are about to find out if the third years are going to be graduating, or are they all going to be sentenced to death as traitors. Let's get our popcorn out and see what happens next.
Yes. So the epigraph for chapter 3 is: there is no moment as rewarding, as stirring, as anticlimactic as a rider's quadrant graduation. It's the only time I've ever envied the infantry quadrant. Now those cadets know how to hold a ceremony. And this is from Major Offender's Guide to the Rider's Quadrant, the unauthorized edition.
Yeah, it's not very fun. It's just,
I
okay,
have
it's
to
over.
say, it was very anticlimactic. The Riot of Dragons lands in the flight fields just minutes before formation will be called for graduation. And Violet actually asks Taryn why the Empyrean would even agree to bond humans in the first place. And he tells her about the first 6 riders and how they were desperate to save their people from the Venom. And the dragons bonded the humans for basically the same reason. They wanted to protect their hatching grounds from the Venom.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a bigger threat than the humans to them.
Yeah.
They needed the humans to weave the wards anyway, and runes. We get a runes mention for, well, we get a little bit of a runes mention because I think Brennan has a scar on his hand of a rune.
And the dagger.
And the dagger has runes in it. So we've been getting more and more runes talk lately.
Mm-hmm.
But neither species has been entirely truthful to each other. They both are basically just using each other for their own reasons and nothing more. They both have their secrets, as we've already said, and I want to know the dragon secrets.
But I can see how the dragons can keep secrets from their humans, because I feel like the dragons are more in tune with the humans' like inner thoughts.
Yeah.
And I feel like they would know all the human secrets, but I guess maybe, I don't know, if they get good at shielding, I guess maybe they can keep the dragons out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Before they even know anything, can they shield the dragons out? Or does the dragon for the specific person know the secrets but can't tell the Empyrean everything?
Yeah.
But I'm sure they can block people out because Violet does that to Taryn when he's banging Sigale. So they definitely learn how to block each other out.
That's true, yeah. So Indarna is the new sass queen in her adolescent age, and she gives snark to Taryn. And we also hear that she refused to get in her saddle for 20 minutes because right now she cannot fly because she's all disproportioned from growing too quickly.
Yeah, she has one like small wing, one big wing, and she's all fucked up.
Yeah. Violet asks Taryn to tell Sigale that she needs to speak with Xaden, which Xaden thinks is so silly.
Yeah.
Taryn tells Violet not to take unnecessary risks, and he will be circling nearby in case she should need him. Violet feels that talking with Xaden through their mind bond is too intimate, and now that they're estranged, she's talking or getting his attention through their dragon.
Yeah. She's like, Taryn, tell Sigale to tell Xaden, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well,
I can only imagine Sigale being like, ugh.
Yeah. She's like, shoot me, please.
Yeah.
So Xaden thinks they are walking into a trial, if not an execution. But before they find out, Violet asks if they have any scribes on their side in the movement. And he says no. But she doesn't want to know anything else until she can protect herself from Dane. When the cadets start filing in, they realize no one actually knows what the fuck happened to them.
Yeah, because they bump into Rhiannon and Riddick, and after they get Liam's letters out of his room, and she gives the letters to Rhiannon, and Rhiannon had no idea what happened to them, and she is devastated, obviously, to find out that Liam is gone.
Yeah.
And Xaden reminds Violet here that she cannot tell her friends what really happened in Resson. So that is another burden on Violet's shoulders.
Yeah, especially because she was just bitching Xaden out for keeping secrets, and now she has to keep secrets from everyone she loves. So she's very morally disturbing to her.
Yeah. And this is what just cracks me up about Violet in this book in general, or just even in this moment, is she's demanding full disclosure when she can't even provide full disclosure to the people that she loves. Rhiannon
Yeah.
is her best friend, and she is doing the same thing Xaden was doing to protect the people overall. But I just
Yeah.
don't see why Violet can't also give Xaden grace when she's going to expect grace from Rhiannon.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't make any sense.
I know. And I think obviously emotions are super high, and she's like probably having a more emotional reaction than a logical one. Because I
Yeah.
think even Xaden says to her later, like, you'll realize soon enough that you don't need full disclosure. So I feel like she just needs to get there.
Yeah.
But it's really bothering her that she can't even tell Rhiannon or
Yeah.
her people any of this. So
Yeah. Violet wants to know if Xaden will ever tell her everything about the revolution once she can properly shield. Xaden says he would tell her everything about himself, but not necessarily the revolution. He wants her to trust him, but to some degree, he is always going to have secrets as a leader of a revolution.
mhm.
Violet tells Xaden if he is anything but 100% honest with her, then she will be busy unfalling for him. And Xaden's like, yeah, good luck with that. So just that brings it back. Like, you're actively lying to your friends to protect them. And that's exactly what Xaden is doing to you.
Yeah. I feel like she almost is taking out the anger of doing it to her friends
On
on
Xaden.
him doing it to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The group from Russin is now in place, so they're all ready to go. And as Captain Fitzgibbon reads Garrick and Xaden's name out on the death roll, Xaden walks out ahead of our group and comments out loud, well, this is awkward. And every head turns in their direction in disbelief.
Wild. I remember being like,
Oh,
oh, shit.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Chapter 4, chapter 4.
I know. He loves an entrance, that
He
man.
does.
Well, let's continue on to chapter 4. How awkward. They were announcing all of them died, but they're actually standing in front of everyone. Time to face the music and see how Colonel Atos and General Sorngale will react to the group actually being alive. Will there be consequences for them?
So the epigraph for chapter 4 is, as dragons ferociously guard both their young and any information regarding the development, only 4 facts are known about the dreamless sleep. First, it is a critical time of rapid growth and development. Second, the duration varies from breed to breed. Third, as the name suggests, it is dreamless. And fourth, they wake up hungry. She must be a hangry little adolescent. And this is from Colonel Kaori's Field Guide to Dragonkind.
So funny.
So funny.
General Sorengale seems relieved to see that Violet is alive, which means she likely wasn't in on Colonel Atos's plan. Xaden lies to Colonel Atos and General Sorengale that they were attacked by griffins at Athbine, which killed Liam and Soleil's dragons. Colonel Atos doesn't believe them and asks Violet to confirm Xaden's story. Violet is able to repeat the same lie as Xaden, which then has General Sorengale criticizing Colonel Atos for being irresponsible with the war games. Colonel Atos had emptied out a strategically invaluable outpost beyond the wards. General Sorengale tells him to correct the death roll and to continue on with graduation. Colonel Atos cannot expose the truth by continuing to call them out on their lies.
Interesting. I also think it's interesting that I know General Sorengale is obviously Violet's mother, but she just describes their relationship as basically like non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that Violet just has to agree with Xaden and she believes him over this guy who's been her right-hand man since literally at least since Violet was 5 years old when she met Dane.
Yeah.
So I think they have maybe a little bit better relationships than Violet thinks.
Yeah, and I feel like Violet wasn't even shocked that her mom just believed her either.
Yeah.
I think Violet is, I don't know, she's not a liar. So I think
Yeah.
whatever she says, there's no reason to not believe her and to continue
Yeah.
questioning her. Also, Violet says that she was stabbed with poison. And when General Sorngale's like, you survived that. And she's like, yeah. And she's like, maybe you are more like me than I thought. And I think that's the highest praise Violet is ever going to get from her mother.
She's like, whoa, compliment? Should
Yeah.
I compliment people?
Did everyone hear this?
Yeah. Say it one more time for the people in the back.
Yeah. But I also love how she tells the Colonel Atos, I'll see you in my office in 30 minutes. You are done. You almost had my daughter killed? Are you fucking kidding? You're done.
Literally. I
You're
wish I
done.
could be a fly on that wall in that office for that meeting.
Yeah. And so obviously Colonel Atos is like, you guys are liars. And they're like, what do you mean? What possibly could have happened if it wasn't Griffins attacking us? And of
Literally.
course he can't say,
Yeah.
or it would expose everything.
Interesting. But do you think General Sorrengail knows?
She definitely knows Venom are real.
Do you think she knows Venom are involved in this battle, though?
I think so.
I think so, too, because they lost a dragon
Two
and
dragons.
Liam, who was, 2 dragons and Liam.
Yeah. And she said she was stabbed by like a poisoned dagger. So
yeah,
I think that's how the mom knows that Violet is telling the truth, but just saying Griffins instead of Venom.
Yeah. Interesting.
So then our boy Dane approaches Violet and Xaden, and Violet yells at Dane in front of the entire quadrant, telling him not to touch her. Basically, if he touches her, she's gonna chop his hands off.
Yeah.
Xaden tells Dane that Violet has chosen him over Dane and tells Dane to remember Athbine if he ever thinks about touching Violet's face again. And Dane backs down. Goes pale when Xaden's like, remember this one word. And he's like, what? He's like, Athbine.
Yeah, like, I wonder what that means. Is he saying, like, obviously we know that Xaden and Violet think that Dane was the one that spilled the beans on them.
Yeah.
But is he like, oh my God, they know? Or is he like, what the fuck happened to Athbine? Or is something coming after me? I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I guess we really don't know Dane's true intentions in this moment.
Yeah.
So he seems like obviously very relieved to see Violet, which obviously he didn't want Violet to go in the first place. But I don't think he would have been all that relieved to see Violet at the end of the day if he thought that she knew the truth.
Yeah, that's true.
And then as we continue on in these chapters, he's still trying to talk to her. So I think if he was really involved, then he wouldn't continue pushing it now that Violet knows the truth. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see how this plays out.
I think, too, if he did know about it, I don't think he would have let her go.
Yeah.
Like, he would have ended up saying this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Or, like, my dad is involved in this and trust me, you don't want to go, or something.
Or maybe he knew something to a degree where the outpost was emptied, but maybe not that they set a lure for Venom to show up.
Right.
Maybe he knew something, but not everything.
Yeah. Like they were going to give him the toughest game of the war games or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I was also going to say about Dane is we know Dane is a rule follower, right? Everything goes by the codex to him.
Yeah.
And he didn't even know that third years were leaving to help the front or going out to like even the middle outpost while they go, like those riders go out to the front. So clearly his dad is not even telling him simple things like that I don't think that his dad would ever risk Dane knowing a secret like Venom. I really don't.
I don't either. I think, too, they want to use him for their advantage, so they really can't tell them everything, or else he won't be willing to be their guy.
So that's why I think he knew the outpost was being emptied, and I think he knew maybe Griffins would be in the area, or like he would learn of Violet's or Xaden's betrayal. Yeah. But I don't think he knows anything about Venom. But I could be wrong, but obviously we'll have to keep reading. But I just think that he's such a rule follower, and he didn't even know that third years are being sent out on missions. Why would he know about Venom?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's interesting. I definitely agree. I don't think he knows about the Venom.
Yeah.
I think him saying I miss you and stuff, like I think he just assumed they'd be doing the war game together and they weren't. So, I don't know.
I guess we'll have to find out.
Yeah.
They're obviously going to have a conversation at some point.
Yeah. Here we go with graduation, and it's just as brutal as the hell that they put you through in the 3 years at Biscaya. They literally just step forward when their names are called and they receive their orders. Not a diploma, nothing. And they have to depart for their new duty in the morning. So they literally don't even get a vacation or anything. No. It's just, you're good, you're done, you lived, now go.
Now get the hell out of here.
At least they get one night to party. So
Yeah.
that's what they're going to do. Panchik announces from this moment on, second years are now third years and first years are now second years. And the new command designations will be announced later that evening.
Mm-hmm.
Out of 11 first years that came through their squad, 4th Wing, Flame Section, 2nd Squad,
Mm-hmm.
from before threshing and after, only 5 of them are left standing. And we have our famous 5, Violet, Rhiannon, Sawyer, Riddick, and Nadine.
Wow.
Squad strong.
But their squad is, besides the first years, is still pretty intact. Imogen, Quinn, Emery, Heaton, Dane is still there. Fortunately.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They definitely have a strong ass squad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on to chapter 5. Well, now that everyone got through the rest of the graduation ceremony, they can celebrate being alive another day. I'm sure things will not stay this hunky-dory, especially when we find out Xaden is leaving tonight and our lovebirds are getting new orders.
Yes. So the epigraph for chapter 5 is, after 3 consecutive deaths of prisoners during his interrogations, it is in this command's opinion that Major Burton Varish should be reassigned from an active wing until further notice. And this is from a missive from Lieutenant Colonel de Grency at the Samara outpost to General Melgreen. Interessant.
So they're like, I think he needs to step back because he's killed too many prisoners during interrogation. So let's send him with the youngins. What? Yeah. What the fuck? That doesn't make any sense. He's a danger to his post. Let's go bring him around the young training cadets.
That die all the time.
Yeah.
For mysterious reasons.
Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here we go.
Here we go.
The cadets are celebrating graduation. Violet, Rhiannon, and Riddick talk about visiting a nearby village.
Yeah, because they get some time off in second year. They don't have their little chores and shit. They have weekends free.
Yeah.
So the village of Chintara supplies Biscayeth and has been open to second years for the healer's quadrant, scribe, and infantry. But not the riders due to a fight that broke out in a bar.
This is why we can't have nice things.
They've literally been banned for a decade. But there are rumors that the ban will be lifted, which means there'll be a new dating pool for our squad members, and they're excited about it.
Oh,
little horny bastards.
Yeah, they're like, this is getting too incestuous in here, so we need to expand.
Yeah. And it's something for them to look forward to. Getting to leave for a couple hours a week. And apparently these trips are only supposed to be to worship Zinal, but they promise they'll stop by the temple before they go to get hammered at the bar.
They promise.
And they promise they will.
Like we were saying earlier, Violet's squad is pretty intact, so they've been named this year's Iron Squad. They have lost the fewest cadets between Parapet and the Gauntlet. They also will not have to do chore duty anymore, as they are now second years. Yes. Violet's fellow riders ask what it was like to be under attack at Resin, and they are surprised that Griffins could take down 2 dragons, but Imogen steps in for Violet and says that it was a bad experience, and the rest of the riders leave it at that, and they give a toast to Liam. Which I think they do mention here, too, that actually you're not supposed to talk about anyone after they're mentioned on the death roll, and they still do it. So they really love Liam, and they miss him. Of course. Yeah, he was a big part of their squad and a big part of all of their lives, and he just added not just his strength, he was just a little golden retriever, literally love bug, but would beat the shit out of you if you touched the people he loved. Yeah, making little like dragon carvings. Oh, he's so cute. So Quinn offers some advice to the new second years. Don't get too close to the first years, especially before threshing, because that will tell you if they are worth even getting to know. Yeah, it's just, you're going to set yourself up for heartbreak if you do that, because they're most likely going to die. Imogen and Quinn were very distant until threshing, and then that's when they finally all had lunch together and stuff, so. Yeah, we thought you hated us, and Imogen's like, no, I didn't hate you, well, I hated you, but not the rest of them. Yeah. She's like, well, besides Violet, I hate you. I just need to make sure you were going to live before I got to know you. Exactly. Violet meets up with Xaden and she follows him into the commons where he grabs his rucksack and his swords. Xaden is leaving tonight unless Violet is offering up her bed to him. Violet says she won't sleep with him until he gives her full disclosure on everything. Ugh, here we go. I know. I
Full
just
disclosure.
know I'm going to be annoyed about this. I just know I am.
You are. Sure.
Colonel Atos interrupts them, and he also introduces them to the new vice commandant, Major Varish, who was there to tighten the ship.
Ugh. Tighten the ship, all right.
Mm-hmm.
So Colonel Atos pisses off General Sorengale and is being sent to a coastal outpost. Xaden is being sent to the front line, not a mid-post like most lieutenants that just graduate.
Mm-hmm.
And Violet and Xaden are both given missives that determine that they will only be given 2 days of leave from their post and Biscayeth for their bonded dragons to be together. So 2 days every 7 days total. So 1 week Xaden will leave, 1 week Violet will leave.
Mm-hmm.
Any other absence is a punishable offense.
Mm-hmm.
They will be in constant pain, these dragons, from missing each other. But Xaden says in this moment too, fuck that. Dragons make their own rules, so we'll fucking see what happens.
Yeah, you think you're going to tell Tarn and Sigel what they can and cannot do?
I know.
Absolutely not.
Why doesn't he just eat Varish?
Yeah, just eat him right now.
Just eat him. Fuck that motherfucker.
Yeah. It's not in their
Can't.
squad. Why can't you just eat him?
Yeah. What's this dragon gonna do with one eye, that little bastard?
Yeah, so basically, like, Colonel Atos and Major Varish are over here trying to intimidate Xaden and Violet.
Yeah.
Dumb.
All
right, chapter 6. Who would have thought that Dane was the least annoying Atos? Colonel Atos has him beat by miles and miles. Threats to our favorite couple and Mira? Absolutely not. And Xaden also is going far away to the front, and no one, especially their dragons, are happy about this. Ugh, leadership just sucks.
They fucking do.
Yeah.
Fuck Colonel Atos. So the epigraph for chapter 6 is, what no one openly says is that while all 4 quadrants obey the code of conduct, a rider's first responsibility is to the codex, which often overrules the regulations other quadrants live by. So by definition, the riders make their own rules. And this is from Major Offender's Guide to the Riders Quadrant.
Yeah. I feel like we need to remember this. Also, I think it's wild that General Sorengale is just going along with this. This is also going to hurt her daughter.
Yeah.
It's weird how she responds to things.
Well, I feel like I think of it as like a corporate situation.
Yeah.
You know how if a manager that's not your manager wants to talk to you, then it has to go through the manager's manager.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's got to go trickle down. And so I feel like in this case, she's above the pay grade to assign things and make rules and deal with dragon bonds.
Yeah.
So I feel like she's not even paying attention
Yeah.
to even know if it's making a difference in her daughter's life or not.
Mm.
And Violet's not one to go up to her and ask for any special treatment or whatever, or
Yeah.
even talk about her experience. So maybe she doesn't even realize how intense this is for them.
Yeah. Well, Violet is in shock that Colonel Atos just threatened to kill them. Atos goes on to say that Violet should be careful about who she tells her war stories with. He would hate to see her mother lose both of her daughters.
Ugh.
What?
I can't wait for Mira to find out this information.
Who does Colonel Atos think he is? Almost bottom of the fucking food chain, Atos.
Literally. They usually are the most power hungry.
Xaden is pissed, but gets Violet out of there before she uses her powers inside and brings the place down.
Yeah.
He gets her outside before she releases her powers into the quadrant, which thank God is stone, and people around them are like, hello, you almost mad at me.
Yeah. She's like, my bad,
Yeah.
sorry.
Oh.
That won't happen again.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
So we find out that Xaden will be stationed at the southern wing in Samara, the most eastern outpost, a day's flight away from Biscayeth. So they only get 2 days. It's a day's flight out, so they're only going to get a couple hours at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And he really had no other choice by the time the handwritten orders were given.
Yeah.
Both dragons are pissed about only having a few hours together. Even Indarna is staying away from Tarn because he is just in a mood, which I get it at this point.
Yeah, like it's going to take them a day to fly there and then a day to fly back. So they're literally just going to be able to bang and then go home.
Yeah, literally.
I don't understand how they think that they're in charge of these dragons. That's
I
what
know.
is
Like, why are
wild.
they letting them get away with this? I think it's the sole reason why Terrence doing it is because he doesn't want Violet to be punished for him making his own decisions, which I guess he really can't control because they are bonded, but the humans have their own chain of command too. I don't know.
It's going to be
If he didn't
interesting.
give a fuck about Violet, he wouldn't care. He'd be like, I'm gone.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah.
And Darna, she should be sleeping at this point, though. According to Taryn, her sleeping for the next 2 months is critical for her growth and development. Stop popping in her head and get to sleep.
Yeah. Should already be asleep in Darna.
We need you fully grown, fully developed, and completely healthy.
Yes, exactly.
Xaden is ready to head off, and he tells Violet Taryn and Sigale won't be able to communicate long distance, but they will be able to feel each other's emotions, and leadership will read every missive they send. He tells her not to involve herself with anything that Bodhi and the others are doing, because she doesn't have a rebellion relic to hide her actions from Melgreen if she's ever caught alone.
Mm-hmm.
She can only trust those who were with them at Resin. But what about her other squad mates? Like we were talking about earlier, Rhiannon, Sawyer, Riddick. She can't even trust other Mark ones yet.
No.
And they know they can't kill her, but they would still like to see her get hurt because of just who her mother is.
Yeah.
So they don't know the whole story yet either, these first year.
Yeah, or
Rebellion
other marked kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, Xaden said the people who are at Resin, he would trust his life with.
Yeah.
So he didn't bring the other ones for a reason.
Exactly.
Violet again pushes Xaden away. They are not happening. She could be with someone else. Xaden knows that she won't, though, because she loves him. And he would fuck off when she tells him to, but Violet has a death grip on him. She lets go of him and tells him to go. Xaden will be back in 7 days, and he tells her to try not to burn down the place while he's gone. Violet does not want to play his ask me anything game because he's like, if you want to know things, just ask me directly.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to play. She doesn't want to play those games. She doesn't even know where she would start. What do you mean you don't know where you would start?
Literally.
Please, Violet, please, you're going to give me Ajita.
You literally ask yourself plenty of questions. You know where to start.
Yeah. I'm just like, I can't. She fucking annoys me so much right now.
I know. She's definitely in an emotional state. She can't be thinking too logically at this point.
Well, she needs to get it together.
Yeah, she needs to get it together. Well, Xaden being gone, who knows if she's going to get it together.
Probably not.
Yeah. So before Chapter 6 ends, we do find out the new command in place. Atos, Dane, the Stain, is the new wing leader in 4th Wing. Sienna is the new executive officer of the section, and Rhiannon is the new squad leader.
Yay!
Our girl!
Yay, Rhiannon!
Yay, Rhiannon!
Chapter 7, Classified Class. That seems like the hardest one yet. Is Xaden really good for nothing for not even telling her about this survival class after we asked for full disclosure?
Come on, Xaden.
He doesn't even like leadership, but let's carry on.
Yep. Let's carry on. So the epigraph for Chapter 7 is, all tomb requests at the Archives of Biscayath must be recorded and filed. Any cadet who fails to do so will be punished for the loss of any text they failed to accurately track. And this is from Colonel Daxton's Guide to Excelling in the Scribe Quadrant. Interesting. What tombs is Violet going to ask for?
What is she going to ask? Violet sits in Professor Grady's class for orientation, but Riddick and Nadine are shocked that they have never seen this classroom before. But duh, they've never been second years before, so that's why they haven't seen this classroom.
Exactly. So the second year spent the first week preparing for the first year's arrivals, learning their roles at Parapet, and then partying all night long and being miserable, hungover assholes in the morning.
Yes. They could already hear the civilians arriving at the War College for conscription day tomorrow.
Yes, it's conscription day.
Whoa.
Nolan, Biscayas Mender, has been run ragged since War Games, which is noted here.
Yeah. And Rhiannon lets Violet know that she's here for Violet if she ever wants to talk.
Aww. She knows something's up with her.
Yeah.
All the second years are in this new hall with their new teacher, Professor Grady, who tells them that they are the smallest class to walk in the hall since the first 6.
Whoa.
There is only 89 of them total.
Wow.
Yikes. Which actually only means they lost 11 since threshing, because didn't 100 dragons
I don't even think 100 bonded. So it's not that much, yeah.
Okay. So they haven't even lost that much since threshing.
Yeah.
Okay. Violet asks Taryn if less dragons are bonding because of the venom, and he says yes. The Empyrean is divided on whether or not they should get involved. Humans are not the only ones keeping secrets here.
Wow.
Interesting. So what are they doing instead? They don't want to protect their hatching ground, or they want to fight the venom on their own?
Yeah, so it's either they don't want to get involved because they want to protect the veil, or they want to be out there fighting so that the venom never even reached the veil.
Exactly. Yeah. Interesting. So, RSC, the Rider Survival Course, is a classified course for second years. It's kept a secret because leadership wants to get all of their general reactions to the situations at hand. RSC will teach them to survive behind enemy lines if they get separated from their dragons. There will be 2 evaluations in the class. One will be in a few weeks and the other around mid-year. The exact dates are not given to the cadets because they want them to be prepared, but also surprised.
So this is a secret second year class, or that happens for second years. Except when could this possibly have happened with Dane the Stained being up Violet's ass all last year? This class she made up this class for this year, for this book.
You think?
There's no time where Dane is not around. When was there even time? When Imogen was training her every night?
I know.
Dude.
I don't think it was as intense because they didn't have Varish.
Okay.
So maybe it was just not as intense.
All right.
All
right.
They will be instructed on navigation, survival techniques, and how to withstand interrogation in case of capture. They will face trials on those topics at any time, and they will literally abduct them from any place in the quadrant, which is fucking scary. The trials will prepare them for the evaluations, and they will go through hell. But as long as they don't break in the interrogation portion, they'll be fine. You'll live.
Yeah, totally fine.
Not traumatized at all.
Not traumatizing at all.
Violet is convinced at the end of this chapter that the answer to the protection of Orisha is in the archives. She lies to Jasenia about why she needs the books on the founding of Basgiath, and she blames it on preparing for a debate in history class. She gives Violet, though, 2 tombs that are over 100 years old. And they may not have a scribe on their side in the revolution, but they have Violet.
Yes,
who
they
basically
do.
has been trained as a scribe her whole life. So
yeah, she's basically both.
Yeah, she's a hybrid.
Yes. And fun fact about Jasenia, she is the first in her year and is most likely going for the adept path, which is the hardest of all degrees for the scribes. She spends most of her time with Markham, and likely she will never leave the archives, which I thought was interesting.
Wild. Which is probably why Brennan thought, again, he would never see Violet, because if Violet was in that class, she'd be first of the year and never would leave the archives.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Chapter 8. Can you even believe our little gang of friends are second years and we don't have to worry about them crossing the parapet, but we do have to help them watch their backs from new hopefuls. Dane and Verge lurking around every corner as well. Ew, like we needed another bad guy with an orange dragon.
Literally. They're literally telling us that the orange dragons are bad.
Yeah.
They have to be.
Like Jack had an orange dragon. That girl, she was a wing leader. The wing leader that got killed had an orange dragon.
Yeah.
And now Major Varish.
Yeah, something's up with these oranges.
They're a little unstable.
Just a little bit. So the epigraph for chapter 8 is, it is one thing to cross the parapet your first year, but watching countless candidates lose their life to it feels a little like dying too. Don't watch if you can help it. Page 84 of the Book of Brennan.
Yeah, I wouldn't watch.
No. And this matches Quinn's advice too. Don't get close to them. Chill out. Make sure they get through the first couple of stages, then get to know them.
Yeah.
So it is conscription day. The squad is hoping more will make it across since it's not storming today, but there's only 91 dragons willing to bond this year. So it really doesn't matter if more or less candidates cross that parapet. Violet and Rhiannon are in charge of taking the final roll before they cross the parapet. So they're literally the last person that these people that die talk to,
Yes.
basically.
So Dane is also there watching in Xaden's spot basically last year. And during all of this, Violet is wondering when Xaden is going to arrive today because he's supposed to be there today.
Yeah,
It's
it's the
been 7th day.
Yeah.
And Dane was trying to remind Violet and Rhiannon what the rules are. And they're basically both so dismissive towards him. Even Rhiannon's like, we know what we're doing. Shut the fuck up.
Literally. They're all like, great, Dane the Stain's the wing leader, but he ain't getting our respect.
Yeah, no. He needs to earn it.
Exactly.
As these candidates are coming up, Violet recognizes one of them as King Taori's third son, Cam, but he has taken on an alias of Eric Greycastle. We also meet Liam's younger sister, Sloane. But just to pivot back to King Taori's son, Dane also recognizes him straight
Yeah.
away. Everyone's going to tell by his green eyes is going to give away who Cam / Arik really is. And they're like, does your dad know where you are? And he's like, my name is Arik Greycastle. And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
They're also like, are you sure? Because he will fucking kill us all if
Yeah.
he finds out. And he's like, yep, I'm here.
Yeah, I'm crossing.
Yeah.
Crazy. Then Liam's little sister Sloane shows up, and Sloane recognizes Violet, and she blames Violet for Liam's death and tells Violet to go straight to hell, blaming her for Liam's death 100%.
Yeah, I was not expecting it to go down that way, their meeting. But
No, I really didn't. I thought they were going to have this cute little big sister, little sister healing moments together,
Yeah.
and that is not what happens.
I don't know why I thought that though, because Liam was a first year. It wasn't like he could write letters either. So she doesn't even know this yet because the letters are still hidden from when Violet grabbed them and gave them to Rhiannon. I can understand where she's coming from when you really think about it, but at first I was like, what the fuck? What a bitch.
Yeah, and the only thing she really knows is probably from letters she's gotten from Imogen and other older kids.
Yeah.
That he was guarding Violet. If he's dead, it must be because of Violet.
Exactly. Yeah.
But despite Sloane being a biatch to her, Violet advises Sloane to put her hair into a braid and keep her arms out on the parapet for balance so that she doesn't die and go and meet Liam before Violet gets to. Sloane and Arik do make it across the parapet, so both of them make it safely across.
Yeah. And I think she watches Sloane the whole time too. She's like, whoever you are, you wait. Just make sure this girl gets across.
She doesn't let anyone cross behind her. Dane is like, Violet, and Violet's like,
yeah. She's nope, nobody's throwing her off.
Yeah.
So at the end of parapet, 71 candidates fall, which is 4 more than in Violet's year with the storm. So no, not too promising these first years.
Yeah.
We also learn in this section too that Sawyer is Rhiannon's executive officer.
Yay, Sawyer!
And in leadership. Okay.
Sloane and Arik are also added to Violet's squad. Sloane protests, but Imogen keeps her in line because Dane, I think, realizes that Violet wants to keep Sloane safe. And I don't know if it's a peace offering or
definitely.
whatever, but he moves or has Sloane move from first wing to fourth wing in their squad.
Yeah. So the conscription day ceremony kicks off and 6 dragons show up. There was one that had one eye, and it was an orange dagger tail, and Violet didn't recognize this dragon. He looked temperamental, but none are as scary as Sigale and Taryn. Taryn obviously knows who this dragon is, though, Solus, and he warns Violet not to take her eyes off of him.
Yes. Also, Dane tries to be Xaden and giving his speech, but he just isn't, and Dane sucks.
Yeah, they make fun of him. They're like, what a Xaden wannabe.
Yeah, literally roasting their own wing leader.
Yeah. And I thought this was interesting, so I'm going to mention it here. Apparently, Kath has really stinky breath that smells like a bone decaying, which is weird because we don't hear about any other dragon breath. So why does he have stinky breath?
Because it's Dane's dragon.
Yeah, and Dane's stinky stain Dane.
Yeah.
Just keeps getting better. Stinky stain.
Stinky stain Dane.
Unfortunately, we're in formation in conscription day, and we have a trio of cadets that get scared and take off. And Solus waits to blast them. He's toying with them. The blast not only took out the trio, but it also took out one of Violet's squad's first years and at least half of the third squad. Violet's back was also scorched, but thank God it doesn't get through her dragon scaled armor.
Mm-hmm.
He not only took out riders who hadn't broken formation, but some of them were actually bonded riders.
Mm-hmm. And Violet wonders if Solas's attack was aimed at her and the others in her squad.
Interesting. Solas is ready to blast another runner when Terrence shows up, and he shows us for pretty much the first time what a fucking badass he really is.
Yeah.
Solas now knows if he ever gets near Violet again, he will devour Varish whole and let him rot in his stomach, and then take the one eye that he left for Solas away from him, so he'll be completely blind.
Yeah, so Solas and Terran already have beef, and Varish has beef with Violet because he's like death glaring her even more now. So there's just beef all around, and this is just not looking good.
Yeah.
It's not looking good.
I wonder if Varish has beef. Well, we know that they have beef because of Atos.
Yeah.
They must be in it together. But also, I wonder if he actually knows what happened between the dragons, which adds fuels to the fire.
I'm sure he does, yeah.
Yeah, it would be interesting to find out.
But thank God Terran's such a badass. He's like, I told you, I'm circling the area for you all the time.
I know, and all of a sudden it's so funny too, because I think it's described as all the first years just go batshit crazy.
Yeah.
They start running everywhere. They're like, oh, fuck. Like, it must be such a slap in the face, though, to Varish's dragon, who's like all scary and they're all still in line, but Terran shows up and they all go fucking nuts.
Or just like the other wing leaders dragons, they all step away from Solas. Like when Terran shows up, they're like, fuck this.
Yeah, they're like, ooh, I better get out of the way of the fire.
Yeah, but they were annoyed too when Solas was going off script and killing bonded riders. They were like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
It's literally a respect within the dragons to not kill another bonded rider
for no reason.
It affects the dragons too. Yeah.
Literally, Kath was like snapping at Solas, but Solas did not give a fuck until Terran showed up.
Yeah. Well, Terran is like triple the fucking size of all these guys, so
yeah,
I'd be scared of him too.
All right, our last chapter of this episode.
Our last chapter.
Chapter 9. Another day, another time to survive. It is assessment day at the end of this chapter, and you know it's never going to go smoothly. On to the content.
Yep. So the epigraph for chapter 9 is, and in the mountains of the Steel Ridge Range, the green dragons of the Yuan Lloyd Sig line, known for their keen intellect and rational countenance, offered their ancestral hatching ground for the good of dragonkind, and the wards of Navarre were woven by the first 6 at what is now Bascaeth War College. So we do know here that from this epigraph, like we were talking about a little bit earlier, that was only the green dragons hatching ground. The black was in Orisha, so there has to be more hatching grounds and more fucking wardstones. There has to be.
There has to be. Because why would they just have a wardstone in Orisha and one in Bascaeth?
Well, I also think they would say there was more lines of dragons at these hatching grounds in these epigraphs and in this information that we're getting, if that was the case.
Yeah.
So the fact that there's not, there has to be more hatching grounds and more wardstones.
I think we're convinced at this point. So yeah.
Not changing my mind about that.
No.
United Navarre, a study in survival by Burnell, curator of the scribe quadrant. So curator is the top guy in the squad quadrant.
You have to get a curator, I think, degree to like work in the archives.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Violet has been running every morning, and she is worried about Xaden, who was supposed to arrive yesterday but never showed up. Imogen joins Violet on her run, but they bump into Rhiannon, who is surprised that they are running together since Violet and Imogen are not friends. And Violet just tells Rhiannon she will meet up with her later.
Yeah. I think, too, she's very nervous in this moment that something happened to Xaden, but we do get that little piece of information from Xaden at the end of one of these chapters that says they'll be able to feel each other's emotions. Yeah. So I don't think anything drastic has happened to him. I think it's just the mind fuck of the time difference and the time to fly and the punishable offense and that kind of stuff that's going to get in the way.
Yeah.
So Bodhi was actually moved to flame section from tail section. They had to do some restructuring since most of third squad was scorched. So Bodhi is now the section leader of Flame in Fourth Wing. So he is one of Rhiannon's superiors at this point.
Imogen wants to know when they leave Bodhi and Rhiannon, wants to know why Violet is running. And Violet explains it's because of the way in which the Venin had killed Soleil at Resen. Soleil had been on the ground when the Venin had killed her, his magic spreading so quickly that Soleil couldn't outrun it. So Violet says if she was ever to be away from Tarn, she would not be able to outrun the magic either. And Imogen says they aren't now, but they will be.
Yeah. Oh, I honestly, that was so heartwarming for them. They've
Mhm.
already been through so much together and they've already
Mhm.
been training together. So I think it's unfair for Rhiannon to think at this point that they're not friends
Yeah.
or friendly at least. Why is it this weird to her knowing that Imogen trained her before this?
Yeah, it's
You
not
know?
weird for them to be working out together.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
it's more of a little bit of jealousy, like why her and not me?
Yeah, and she also
Almost.
knows they were together at this battle that went bad, so she probably just feels like she's losing her best friend.
Yeah, left out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are back in Battle Brief, but Violet doesn't know if anything they are learning is actually true. Like
Mhm.
they could be fucking lying about everything at this point.
Mhm.
They're already lying about the Venom, so I'm sure most of these battles are not completely truthful.
Mhm.
Are these attacks really Griffin like they say, or are they Venom?
Mhm.
Brennan thinks they only have 6 months until the Venom challenge the wards, and there is not a single indication of that on the map that they're looking at in Battle Brief. And that's why there's red flags all in Violet's head at
Mhm.
this moment. Information from the front lines, we find out, is actually brought first to Biscayeth before it even reaches the king in Kildare. And all I can think about in this moment is, are they fucking changing the information before it even gets to the king? Does the king even know?
Right, we don't know. We have to
Because if it
assume.
goes through Biscayeth first, then that already tells me something's up.
Yeah, I have to imagine that the king isn't getting 100% of the
Yeah.
information he should be getting.
Yeah, and do I think he knows about the Venom? Yes, but
Yes.
do they know that the Navarians are actually being a passive protection instead of active? Maybe not.
I also think it's interesting that he, as the king, has this almost like utmost trust in the running of Biscayeth
Yeah.
to have the information go there first before it goes to him. Like, how did
Yeah.
that deal get worked out?
Ex-
That's weird.
Literally. And it's almost like he just doesn't want to bother with them.
Mm,
Like you handle it. It's not my
yeah. I'm just the king in name, and
yeah.
I don't want to make any important decisions unless I
Yeah.
have to.
Well, we do find out when we first get introduced to the king that he wears all the battle warrior medals and he's actually never even seen battle. So maybe that's why he's just like, I don't fucking care. You guys have done it before. You'll do it again. And I'll just sit back and be the king.
Yeah. And take all the credit.
Exactly.
Violet seethes at Colonel Markham since he likely knows everything about the Venom and is doing nothing to stop it because Violet trusted him above everybody, above her own mother.
Yeah.
And now everything she knows is a lie. And he's even looking at Violet funny. And yeah, it's just not the Colonel Markham that she knew and respected.
Yeah, for sure. Which is sad when you think about it because I feel like he was more of like her idol than anything. Like,
Hmm.
really looked up to him and wanted to be him one day.
Hmm.
To find out that your whole life is a lie and
He
was
wrote it.
part of it.
He
Yeah.
wrote the history
Yeah,
book that they're
orchestrated
learning
it.
from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so wild. So in Battle Brief, they learn of 2 attacks on their border by Drifts of Griffin this past week. And I say Drifts of Griffin with the air quotes.
Yeah.
One was on the border of Breivik near a village of Sapine, high in the Espen Mountains, where the Drift attacked at 2 a.m. when most villagers were asleep. It was unprovoked and went undetected for hours since it was actually outside of the wards. So by
Hmm.
the time that the 3 dragons on patrol in a local outpost noticed the attack, the damage had already been done. Supplies were stolen and homes were burned. And the last Griffin and Flyer there were actually burned on site. They didn't even bother questioning them. They were just like, fuck you, you're dead.
Hmm.
Which seems a little not smart, but
It's interesting how many villages that Navarre has outside of their wards.
yeah. Because they can only extend the wards so far.
Yeah.
They can't even cover fully Navarre. It's really just Biscayeth War College and the surrounding villages
Yeah.
and the Vale.
Yeah.
The second attack was at Athbine 3 days ago, and this, like, freaks Violet out because
Yeah.
she's like, "I know what's at Athbine." So she, I feel like, realizes in this moment, there's no way this is real, what they're saying.
Yeah.
It was right before midnight while 9 of the 12 dragons were on patrols. There was about 2 dozen of them, griffins, aka Venom, and they were defeated by 3 dragons and the help of infantry. 2 Griffin riders make it to the lower level of the outpost before they were killed. The 2 attacks are not believed to be related, but Rhiannon is thinking that they may have known the post was empty for war games, but somehow the information got delayed. Leadership is thinking that Poromiel's unrest at the trading post near Resson was helping disrupt the lines of communication. So Violet's like, unrest? What are you talking about?
Yeah, those people barely just survived an attack. They're
Yeah.
rebuilding, if anything, at Resson.
Yeah. Violet is thinking that were the Griffins actually getting to the lower levels to raid for weapons? And she's like, we need to help them. We need to actually smuggle more out for them if they're trying to attack us to get weapons.
Yeah. So Professor DeVera, though, says she was at this attack at Athbine, and that's how she got this new lovely scar on her.
Oh, yes, that's right. So maybe it was just Griffins in this instance because they were raiding.
Maybe.
Or is she hiding it too?
Right.
She gets like annoyed with Markham too in this section because
Yes.
he's like giving answers.
Well, he's
when
being
he's not
snarky to
supposed
Violet, and
Yeah.
almost like he knows that Violet knows, and he's taunting her. And Professor DeVar does not like this. One, Professor
Yeah.
DeVar is very happy to see Violet in class, and seems proud of her for being there as a second year. And when Professor Markham starts being weird with Violet, she's like, we don't give the answers out, and we don't usually go to second years first.
Yeah. It's almost like she wants Violet to keep the secret and he doesn't want her to keep the secret.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird
It's like
vibes.
she's like proud of her because you're keeping the secret and Navarre safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know.
And he's like, you dummy.
No.
Like, you have a voice here and I don't.
I don't think so.
Tell everybody.
I don't think we should trust Professor Markham. I think we should trust Professor Navarra.
Interesting.
Like, I think Professor Markham is the bad guy.
Yeah. Well, he is the scribe that wrote the book, like you said.
Yeah. I think we need to.
Interesting.
I would reverse it, what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Because I feel like she was like, the way he was looking at her is bad. Like, he is like, you need to be dealt with.
Yeah.
Like, you're a disappointment to me and you need to be gone. I don't know. We'll see.
But why would she be a disappointment if she's keeping the secret to him?
Because he doesn't know if she's going to keep it or not. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
So Bodhi gets angry at Violet for trying to help by asking questions because she wants to be a part of this. And he's like, you need to be a second year and survive.
Yeah.
That's
your job.
That's
Yeah.
your job.
Yeah.
So Violet skips out on lunch so she can go read one of the tombs Jasenia gave her, and it doesn't really have any new information. Rhiannon also thinks Violet is mad at her because of the way Violet has been acting lately, and Violet assures her that she is not mad at her, and she loves that she picked Sawyer as her executive squad leader.
Aww.
Yeah, she's like, I can't be your second in command. I'm gonna be flying off every 7 days, so there's no point of me being at your side. And so Rhiannon's like, that's exactly what I was thinking. And Violet's like, I'm not mad at you, but obviously Violet is acting weird as fuck because she's keeping so many secrets from Rhiannon.
Yeah, exactly. And I think after her encounter with Venom, she wants nothing to do with leadership at all. Oh. She is like, oh, hell, she already didn't at first, but she definitely doesn't now. She's like, fuck them cowards.
Yeah, she has no aspirations to be her mother.
No. So Rhea actually expresses to Violet in this instance that she thinks the school is hiding something from them. She thinks something is going on in the healer's quadrant because she went to see Nolan yesterday and he looked like absolute shit. He could literally barely stand. And Varish basically answered for him to Rhiannon and escorted him into this little door in the back of the infirmary, which was now guarded. So Rhea is thinking they're definitely hiding something back there. So before we end this chapter, we have assessment day.
Yes, so everyone's getting partnered up for their challenges, and Sloane gets partnered up with Eric, and Sloane's like, no, I want to challenge her, pointing at Violet, which gets shut down immediately by the professors because they know who trained Violet, and they're just not going to have another repeat of last year. But Sloane is like, what do you mean? I thought you said her bones are so weak, Imogen. Violet's like, thanks a lot. She's like, I didn't like you then.
Yeah, it was probably literally when she broke her arm that she was bragging about it in a letter to Sloane.
Yeah, but now, like, Imogen has been training Violet, Rhiannon has trained Violet, and Xaden himself has trained Violet to fight. So, though the conversation is interrupted when the giant first year, who we saw cross the parapet and toss like a kid across, and they called Jack Barlow Jr., asks who Violet Sorrengail is. And Nadine steps forward jokingly, oh, you're so popular today, Violet, and goes, I'm Violet, look at me and my hair. And this first year takes her so seriously and snaps Nadine's neck and kills her. What the fuck?
Wild.
I remember reading this the first time going,
Yeah.
what?
Absolutely insane.
I mean, I guess you should never get attached to any of these characters in this book, especially I think if they're
like B
B
characters, not A
characters.
characters.
Yeah. But even main characters, like, I feel like you can't get attached to
I
because
know.
Liam.
I know.
So
who are we gonna lose in this book?
But literally, what the fuck? Like, this kid is
Yeah.
like, who's Violet Sorrengail? And then snaps Nadine's neck on, like, just without even hesitating.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
And it's not like he's a rebellion kid.
No.
Nothing. He just
A giant
big,
first
nasty
year.
Jack Barlow Jr.
Yeah. And that's
Baby J.
And that's how this set of chapters ends.
Thanks, Megan, for picking on yet another cliffhanger for us. We love you for it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I can't wait to read the next section and figure out who this motherfucker is.
Right?
Even though we've already read it. But I swear, it's like reading it all new again because there's so much that you pick up on a second reread.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Seriously, it's wild.
Yeah. But that's all we have for you today. Please let us know what you think by leaving us a review and comments on any of the platforms you are listening/watching on or on our social media pages. This helps tremendously to get the word out and lead more listeners to find our show and tune in.
Yes, don't forget to email, follow, subscribe, and rate us 5 stars and tell all your friends about us. And we hope the rest of your day is blissful. Bye!
Thank you so much for listening. Join us next week where we start part 2 of Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros, covering chapters 10 through 17. Happy reading!